Most people think you need acres and acres to grow enough food to feed your family, especially if you're like my family and we're a little bit on the larger side. But what if I told you that everything you see right here, the baskets of food, the beautiful carrots, the ripened tomatoes, all the food I need to feed my family year round, which happens to be a family of 6, all comes from a 20 by 50 foot growing space. It's nothing fancy, but it is how we feed our family of 6 week after week, season after season, all year long. All of this comes from one tunnel that's smaller than most people's backyard. So if you want to know how to grow abundance for your own family year round, then come along and let's take a look. When we first started growing food, we were honestly pretty overwhelmed by space. Everyone online that I was following seemed to have these huge gardens or full-blown farms, and at the time, my husband and I were working full-time. This was just something that we enjoyed doing. It was a hobby, but it certainly wasn't something that I could quit my job and pursue full-time. And so we had to ask ourselves over the years, what can we do with what we have? And that's when we really started honing in on small space gardening. And now that we've been at our farm for over 4 years, we have honed in on this one space specifically. It's just a 20 by 50 foot blueprint. And we committed to seeing how much we could actually grow with intention. Now this tunnel feeds everyone in my family and even our extended family. Not every single meal, but it is our daily produce. It's our snacks, it's our herbs. You guys, it's so much more for us. This is how we eat fresh food every single day without running to a grocery store, because spoiler alert, we live in the middle of the boonies. So it takes us a hot minute to get to the nearest grocery store. But this is how we teach our kids what real food looks like, right? This is how we teach our kids that we harvest and shop from our backyard. So one, I really want to walk you through logistically, how do we make this work? Because before we were growing in this high tunnel on our previous farm, we had about a half an acre that we were working with as well. So we really had to be intentional with those small spaces as well to feed our family year round, which we were doing, but we were also supplying farm to table restaurants. That's when I really started tapping into succession planting, interplantings, figuring out what crops gave us the best return. You guys will see later in this video, I am calculating yields. So much of this garden is about strategy because I am using it like a grocery store. I'm figuring out what mistakes I made. I'm jotting them down so that I don't make those same mistakes again. I'm also really leaning into what does this daily rhythm look like, right? I don't know about you, but I'm a mom to 4 kids. I'm homeschooling and I'm running a business. So to say that we're a little busy would be kind of an understatement. So I've had to figure out, how do we make our backyard our grocery store, and how do we find a daily and a weekly harvest rhythm that really works for us. When we started interplanting, when we started succession sowing, when we started really keeping tracks of what different yields, different varieties gave, you guys, we started to see a lot of success in our garden. In fact, that's when we kind of transitioned from backyard hobbyists to full-blown food producers. And I gotta tell you, it feels pretty good. So I absolutely love growing beans. One, because they're just a really fast grower. It's like most varieties, you've got like a 50-55 day seed to harvest, which is a pretty fast turnaround. Also really like interplanting with beans because they're a good nitrogen fixer in the soil, same with peas. So if you know you're planting something that maybe depletes the nitrogen in your soil, you could always interplant with a bean or a pea to just kind of naturally put nitrogen back in the soil, which is really, really nice. I think the plan is with these beans, maybe to freeze them instead of canning them. It's a little bit easier to do.
We would just blanch them. Oh, but you guys, we are going to have beans for days. So the idea is that we would plant beans now and then plant again late summer into fall and let them go until the frost took them out. And I think if we maximize this bed again, we will certainly be able to grow enough beans for our family for the whole year, and still have enough for like fresh eating and stuff as well, because we're still pulling from these just to have fresh with dinner and things like that. But I don't know, bush beans are one of those kind of silent ones in my opinion that I just love growing because they're so easy, they're so prolific. Whew. This might take me a while, y'all. Let's speed this up. I think we're gonna need a bigger basket. We are halfway done. I still probably have about this size left or better. Cannot wait to go inside and weigh this. We've been keeping track of how many pounds of food essentially we've grown this year. So, whew. So the current dilemma I am facing is getting it all harvested and preserved today, because I've got carrots to get out of the ground, beets, we have all of the tomatoes that you guys see behind me. So I think what I'm going to actually do is just stick with harvesting half of that row. That way I can, preserve with ease. And then I'll probably come back out here tonight or even in the morning, harvest the rest as well. So moving on from that, now we're gonna move into the tomatoes. It's a good one. All right, the first Dr. Witchy we are harvesting of the season. Oh my gosh, this is gonna go on a BLT. Probably for lunch. You guys know it's been a few years since I've grown the old Dr. Witchy. Plant's looking beautiful. So last year we grew hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds of paste tomatoes and tomatoes. And we got all stocked up on our sauces, our diced tomatoes, our salsas, our chutneys, our ketchups, etc. So we're actually really good through the year. Last year and this year. So these are all just going to be for fresh eating and fresh salsa and some fresh sauces we want to whip up, which is really nice because I don't really need a ton of time, to start or preserve these, because most of these we're just eating fresh. We're also supplying Nathan's family with a good bit as well. His dad is struggling with some health issues, so it feels really good just to have a garden that not only is providing for my family year round, but it's also able to supply Nathan's family as well. So makes me feel really good and just super encouraged that this is the path that we chose to take. Thing is massive. I mean, look at that.
So if you've been gardening or maybe dreaming of growing your family's own food, but you've maybe had this idea in your mind that you need more land to grow more food, I hope this video right here gives you hope that you can actually feed your family. You just need a plan, and you need to start planting and growing with a little bit more intention.
The game of how many tomatoes can he hold? How many tomatoes can he hold? Alright. There we go. There's a few more that are, I could harvest and let them ripen on the table. But because we're just eating them fresh, I'm actually going to leave these and just come back and get them in a couple days. There we go. Now, I am notorious for harvesting our cherry tomatoes and just chunking them in. But I'm actually going to grab the bags that we store all of our root crops in and bag them up in here. That way, they're easier for me to weigh, since we are weighing all the food that we're harvesting. So, I think that's going to be the move. Okay, I am going to keep these separated by varieties, just because I'm weighing these based off of the yield per variety, so that way we know when we get ready to order next year. We just want to be growing all the varieties that are going to yield us the most. So I'm going to try to fill this bag up. It'll probably be a couple pounds. And then we'll do the golden sweet grape separate. These are a lot bigger than the golden sweet grape. These are the indigo kumquats. So I know that they are going to weigh more. All right. I think that's it. It's a good, decent bag. Put it in here. You know, it's so funny, a few years ago when I started growing tomatoes, I didn't even actually enjoy tomatoes. That's one of the things I love about gardening, is through the years I've come to love things that I used to would never eat. And tomatoes, one of those. I used to, well gosh, if y'all have been around, you've probably heard me say, I couldn't just go to town and munch on a tomato. Now I absolutely crave that acidic, just refreshing tomato of the year. These cherries have been so great. Me and Ziggy have just been snacking on all of them. Uh-oh. Alright. Another bag down. Probably another one to go. Alright. Another bag. This is probably, again, at least a pound. Probably 2, to tell you the truth. Okay, we've got to harvest the carrots next. And then I am going to have to break this up into 2 days. Because essentially I have got a really good problem on my hands. But I've got too much food. So I still have a ton of cucumbers to harvest. We have purple whole peas. I've got peppers, eggplant, radish, and carrots. So the deer got in my high tunnel. The first time in 8 years this has ever happened to me, you guys. We were gone for several days. They hopped in, they ate all my lima beans, all of my carrots, a lot of my sweet potatoes. There's deer droppings all down the aisles. Have never, ever had this happen. So it was completely wild, completely unexpected. So we've got some re-sowing to do. But I want to go ahead and harvest all of these carrots just so that we're not dealing with that issue anymore.
If you're not sure where to start or what to plant based off of your zone, I've got my year-round seed starting guide that you can just go check out. It'll be in the link in the description. But if you want real guidance, you guys, this is exactly why I created the Confident Gardener Mentorship, so that I can walk alongside you in real time and show you how to grow the food that your family needs. Our mentorship's going to open back up in August, which is going to be great, but for a limited time, you can actually opt into the fall mentorship and get access to the summer mentorship happening right now. I promise you, you don't want to miss this. So again, check out the link in the description. It'll have all the details, everything you need to know, and hopefully I'll see you inside our private community.
Love growing carrots. All right, I have a ton more to harvest. But you guys know I have a lot on my plate today. So I just harvested enough to be able to preserve Then we'll come back out here tomorrow and we'll do it all over again. All right, you guys know I love record keeping. If I'm actually gonna feed my family of 6 year-round, there has to be some strategy that goes into it. Part of it is knowing what actually produces well. So one of the things I kind of live by all season long and year-round is a kitchen scale, and then my tiny farm planner. In here, I have got a early season variety review. And what I do is I put the crop, the variety, where I planted it at, if there was pest, disease, the flavor, performance, but then the yields. And this is where I really start to track and I start honing in on my varieties, what perform well and what don't. So now we're actually gonna go through, we're gonna weigh our green beans, we're gonna weigh our cherry tomatoes, and we're gonna weigh our carrots. Then we're gonna make a quick matcha. We're gonna get busy preserving all of it.
So thanks for joining us for another week here on the farm as we harvested, preserved, and no, of course, I did not get to cleaning this dirty house, but it is summer hustle. So you guys know those types of household chores are just gonna have to wait. But seriously, you guys, it never falls short on me just how amazing this community is. It's such a joy to show up and encourage you guys what a little intentionality and self-sufficiency can do for your family. I'm so glad I said yes to this slow, intentional lifestyle. And I'm even more glad that I said yes to share it authentically with each and every one of you guys. So thanks for hanging out. I'll talk to you soon.